Like, I know what you guys are probably gonna say. Sniper, we have seen this build so much from other creators, why cover this build? And I'm glad you asked. While I know that other creators have covered this build, I wanted to make it different. So today, I wanted to share a modified version of the Falcon Halberd Void Hunter build, but with some failsafes added to it. So without wasting any more time, let's get into the video. Let's talk about how much of the build is the Falcon build. To be honest, it's a pretty sizable chunk, so if you want to skip to the new part that I added, skip to the time on screen. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on what the build is. The entire build is centered around one exotic, the Falcon's Halberd chest piece. The chest piece received a bit of a rework going into the season, which made it insane, and the new builds were very quickly covered. The build consists of you abusing the exotic perk, See Me, Fuel Me, which, to paraphrase what it does, it gives your void weapons volatile rounds once you exit invisibility, gives all of your weapons bonus damage if you defeat a combatant with the finisher while invisible, it gives you and all nearby allies a reserve overshield, which can be used by using your class ability, and it also improves class ability regeneration. The build is designed to help you have invisibility at all times by using fragments like Echo of Persistence to extend invisibility's timer. If you want a more in-depth overview of this build, I highly recommend Mactic's video on this build. It's super in-depth and will help you set it up perfectly. Now that we've covered what the foundation of this build is, let's see what I added. So for my addition to the build, I wanted to help make it safer, which may seem weird as this build is designed to make ads die so fast that there should be no threat. And while that is the case, I wanted to add some safety to make this build more viable in in-game content. So here's what I chose to add. First things first, I wanted to make sure that there were more sources of volatile rounds, as that plays a massive part in this build. And the second thing I wanted to add was Devour, so that it could play a big part in the build. The reason for that is because Devour will give you a great health regen option for when you poke out of invisibility to clear out ads, and if the ads were to put up a fight, you'd have a way to get an upper edge on them. So here's what I chose to add and also remove. Regarding remove, there's only one thing I actually removed as far as I'm aware of, and that is Echo of Persistence. The reason for this is because with the additions I'm making to the build, you won't really be invisible a whole lot, so Persistence just acts as a wasted fragment. Regarding what aspects and fragments I used, I went for the following. For aspects, go for Vanishing Step and Stylish Executioner. Vanishing Step is a vital part of the build in order to have an easy way to activate Falcon, and Stylish Executioner will give you a great gateway into one of the fragments. Speaking of fragments, the fragments I chose to use for this build were Echo of Undermining for the weakening effect, Echo of Instability to have another source of volatile rounds, Echo of Starvation to give yourself a source of Devour, and Echo of Harvest to give yourself an easy way of making an Orb of Power to activate Echo of Starvation. These aspects and fragments all have great synergy with each other and the build, such as Stylish Executioner giving you an easy weakened target to kill for an Orb of Power, to proc Devour, having a weakening grenade which will give you a great way to get both Devour and volatile rounds, and these all can act as a failsafe for the build, or can act as the forefront of it, and Falcons can act as the failsafe, depending on which you fancy the most. Let's now dive into what weapons and mods I used for this build. Let's take a look into the weapons I used for this build and what weapons I would recommend for this build. For me, I have mainly been using Funweb since it's a great powerhouse of an SMG and will get the job done, but having an Unforgiven with Demolitionist and Adrenaline Junkie could probably do the job much better. If you're struggling to get precision kills with an SMG, I'd recommend looking into a great hand cannon for the job. If you still have one lying around, Palindrome is great as it's a good hand cannon with even better perks. If you don't have a Pally, then you can use the new Trials hand cannon Exalted Truths, which is available this weekend and comes with some great perks. Another solid weapon that would do this build justice is the Vow of the Disciple Raid Exotic Collective Obligation. Regarding the mods I mainly use, whatever mod will help gain abilities back faster, like Bomber, Orbs of Restoration, and Absolution. Well mods like Well of Tenacity, Elemental Armament, Elemental Ordnance, and Seeking Wells, and some resistant mods to top it all off. While these mods work best for me, be sure to equip whatever mods will help you use this build efficiently. Now that we've covered that, let's dive into the workflow for this build and discuss what area of the game I'd recommend taking this build into. Let's dive into the workflow now. I typically begin an engagement by tossing my grenade into a crowd of enemies, where I will then look for both a precision kill to proc Echo of Harvest and to allow Echo of Instability to get a kill and provide volatile rounds. From there, I just proceed to kill ads until I run out of volatile rounds, which then causes me to use the Falcon workflow highlighted in Mactic's video of dodging to go invis and proc Falcon's perk, then using that until I have my grenade up, in which I will then repeat the process over and over again. It's a simple enough flow to follow, so once you get the hang of it, you will become unkillable. Regarding which area of the game I find this build to work out the best in, I'd highly recommend using it in dense areas like dungeons, raids, and certain strikes, as you'll be able to take advantage of the build the best in these areas of the game. Well, that wraps up my first ever build video. If you found it enjoyable, please consider dropping a like and subscribing for more Destiny content dropping every week. Be sure to comment down below what other content you'd like to see from me, and I'll be sure to get to it. If you want to come watch me live, then be sure to do so right here on YouTube. Finally, be sure to follow my social media platforms, all linked in the description below. With that being said, I'm SniperKH, and I'm out. Good luck with gaming.